Hello everyone, it's Oscar here, and I'm joined again by Richard and Rod. And for today, we are watching Gladiator.
Which came out how many years ago now? 16.
Yes,
Came out
indeed.
in the year 2000, yeah. Directed by Sir Ridley Scott.
The one and only.
I think this opening score by Hans Zimmer just instantly sets the tone for the rest of the film.
That's true. I even like the desaturated sandy orange look of the Universal and DreamWorks logos as we transition into the film's opening.
I like it on movies when they do that, when they do a change to the studio's logo. I think it's quite good if they can do it, especially if they can do something that matches the theme of what the movie is.
I love this opening text as well. It just instantly clues you into what's going on.
And this is pretty much the first truly epic movie about the Roman Empire that we had had for quite some time, so
Yeah,
a little
because
information was necessary.
yeah, because at this time the sword and sandals epic was pretty much dead.
Yeah.
I struggled to think of one that came before this, like recently before this, that was such a huge hit, and one of the few that comes to mind is Ben-Hur.
Yes, but I guess so. But then again, Ben-Hur was a good 30 odd years before Gladiator came out. So yeah, it just goes to show that Ridley Scott basically brought a genre back from the dead with this one film.
And here we have Russell Crowe, the most famous Australian in the world, playing Maximus.
Maximus Decimus Meridius.
And there's no phones in this era, so I think the enemy will be fine from phone attacks.
I love this shot of the robin flying off the branch, and that's the clue to Maximus that the enemy is on the march. Again, a very nice, subtle visual cue.
Yeah, and I like the look on his face, which pretty much says, right, let's get on with it.
And big spoiler, what we saw with the hand going through the field is, of course, a foreshadowing of what will actually happen at the end with Maximus's fate.
I love that panning up shot when the music kicks in and you see the Roman army forming up.
This is probably one of Hans Zimmer's best scores ever, and you can definitely feel the power of the Roman Empire through the score. That's what great music is supposed to do: transport you into the world and convey the emotions of the story and characters. There's also quite a bit of the planet Holst, the planet's theme by Holst, the one from Mars, I believe. In essence, Zimmer looked to some truly classical inspiration for this score.
And of course, at this point, I think these wars were called the Punic Wars, and it was basically a war of attrition because at this point the Roman Empire had kind of stopped expanding, and so Marcus Aurelius, he basically fought a series of frontier wars to stop barbarian tribes from encroaching on their territory. And he did it quite successfully, but I think he was basically the emperor who was at war for most of his reign, just fighting everybody along the Roman Empire's borders, and this was like one of the few big last epic battles, which did secure peace throughout the empire.
Well, you're correct about Marcus Aurelius leading these wars on the Roman frontier, but they weren't called the Punic Wars. That was the war with Carthage.
Oh, right, yeah, of course it was.
These are the Germans.
Yeah, thank you for that correction.
Now, a bit of a tie back
Also,
to King Arthur that we did the audio commentary of last time. Now, in terms of that story, when it was set, because here we have, of course, Romans as well. And in this movie, where would you say it sort of fits in with the King Arthur film that we saw. I'm not saying it's
Oh.
related, but
Well, mostly because we see Roman centurions in that. Sorry, Roman legionnaires in that film and Roman legionnaires in this film. But for me, that's about as far as the connection goes.
yeah. But what I
Well,
mean
we
is,
also have-
though, what sort of time period would this be set in comparison to the one that was set in King Arthur?
About 100 years before King Arthur.
Okay.
King Arthur was 5th century. This is second or 3rd century, so
Yeah,
quite a substantial amount of time.
yeah. This was when the Roman Empire was at the height of its power.
I mean, they both feature centurions battling barbarians on the frontiers of the Empire, but story and themes are otherwise sufficiently different.
Oh, obviously, yeah, definitely. Dumbledore version 1.
Oh yes, more on him in a bit. I also think it's pretty neat that Ridley Scott actually went to a forest in East Anglia to shoot this battle sequence. It isn't Germany. This was all in England.
I love
I
the
think
music
as
in this
far
bit.
as yeah, I think as far as opening battle scenes go, this is easily one of the best. And they didn't purely use CGI either. They used a mixture of practical and green screen, and they composited the two together seamlessly.
I'm trying to think. Did they use CGI in this battle?
They did to make the army look a little bit bigger.
What
Oh
we
yeah,
do
of
in
course.
life echoes in eternity. That's a great quote.
I
Oh,
love
yes.
that line. Yeah,
Classic quote.
I love how the Germans have got no chance, but they're going out on their own terms basically.
Not unlike how Max does it during the course of the film, going out on his own despite overwhelming odds.
And I like how when you hear the Germans chanting, it's basically what Ridley Scott has done is borrowed the chant of the Zulus from the film Zulu.
So it's literally the same chant, basically.
It is, yeah.
At first I thought it was some primitive form of German, but, you know, learn something new every day, I guess.
Really, when it came to this kind of fighting, no one else could match the Roman army. In fighting in open field, they were the best, and I think they were the first to have a properly organised army, and a professional one at that.
I think you might well be right on that count. They were certainly the most successful in that regard.
You have to remember, in Great Britain there was the Boudicca revolt, and Boudicca had 100,000 men on her side. The Romans had 10,000, but the Romans won because they were the better organised and better led army.
That's true.
Just goes to show you what discipline and tactics does.
Hold the line! Sorry, I was taken in by the action.
It's alright, it is a great action scene, isn't it? And in one way, Ridley Scott, unfortunately during the 90s, had a few unsuccessful films at the box office that flopped. But this film was basically his way of saying, yeah, I'm back.
I know. That's why it's so awesome.
I like the way how we see the Romans form the Roman turtle very quickly.
I know.
Roman Victor!
That shot of the dog leaping through the flames, do you know how that was achieved, Richard?
I think it was just a mixture of getting the dog to jump and CGI flames. And all the so-called bodies you see getting stabbed and chopped up, some of them are amputee actors, and others are real-life, real-looking dummies with blood packs in them.
Blimey. Again, just as in King Arthur, the brutality and visceral nature of the battle is so flawlessly executed.
And you might notice it's actually over quite quickly, but that's because the Romans have superior infantry and tactics on their side. They basically decimated the Germans before they sent their infantry in.
Pretty much.
That's an interesting moment, isn't it, with Russell Crowe there, because it's sort of like in the heat of the battle, in the heat of the moment and the violence that's going on, you know, it makes you think fighting these things and making sure that you know that you're not going to accidentally kill someone who's on your own side. But I like how there was that balance there, but he sort of smiled at the end as if to say, look, you know, I knew it wasn't an enemy, I wasn't going to kill you, sort of thing.
Yeah. And credit to that stuntman who allowed himself to get set on fire.
I know. That takes balls.
Definitely a shout out to all those stunties out there who do these stunts, and it's just, you know, just the what they have to do and put their life on the line, and unfortunately that sometimes results in death, and you know, it's unfortunate in those circumstances that happens, but you know, they definitely deserve the credit that they put themselves on the line the way they do.
I like how this victory doesn't feel much like a victory because a lot of men died. It feels kind of anti-war in that sense because a lot of epics before this showed war as quite glorious and a good thing, but here you really feel sort of like the blood and the dirt and it feels practically thrown on your face.
Exactly.
And you look at it and you think, does this look like something I want to be a part of? No, not really.
That's the thing. I might, you know, watch these types of movies, but there'd be no way in hell I'd want to actually be in a war, even back then.
No, not by a landslide.
It's kind of interesting to think how Maximus is a made-up fictional character, but Commodus and Marcus Aurelius were actually father and son.
And real emperors.
Yeah, they were, yeah. But, spoilers, Commodus didn't actually kill Marcus. Marcus died of natural causes, and obviously Commodus ascended to the throne.
Indeed. But that's the interesting thing about this movie, in that it plays with the idea of history rewriting itself to suit another man's interests. So you could say that Commodus did rewrite history so that the emperor died in his sleep.
Yeah, you could say that, yeah.
But on the other hand, due to what happens in the end to Commodus, you could say that most of his changes were undone in the process. The other thing that really gets my mind racing about, in terms of historical accuracy, it's not exactly a historically accurate film, and yet I love it, considerably a lot more so than Braveheart. And at risk of playing devil's advocate, it might be because Braveheart tries to tell the quote-unquote real story, but still fudges up on a lot of counts. Gladiator isn't necessarily trying to tell any one particular story, and so I guess that allows it to take more liberties with history.
It's interesting you say that. You bring that up because when I was younger, I always used to prefer Braveheart over Gladiator. But as I get older, I see the flaws in Braveheart more and more, and Gladiator becomes the film I like a lot more.
Plus, I think Gladiator is 100 times better made than Braveheart. Though I could just be biased.
It's made by a better director as well.
Yeah, a less loony director.
Yeah, we won't get too much into Mel Gibson. That's a rant for another day, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so. Sorry.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
Mad Mel.
Oh, no. That's kind of funny because he turned down the role of Maximus.
In terms of, I think Antonio Banderas was considered for the role of Maximus on account of his Spanish heritage. And of course, Maximus is referred to as the Spaniard on more than one occasion.
But yeah, I can't imagine anyone else in the role. I think that Oscar that Russell Crowe got was well earned, I think.
I completely agree, man. I don't. He embodies Maximus in more ways than one, and at this point, you don't even care or remember his actual heritage. He is Maximus in this movie.
I feel the same way about Richard Harris as Marcus Aurelius as well, because I saw a film that starts off pretty much the same way as this, called The Fall of the Roman Empire, and I think Alec Guinness played Marcus Aurelius, but I think Richard Harris was a lot better.
I actually haven't seen Fall of the Roman Empire yet. How is it?
It's good. It's good, but it hasn't dated that well. I'll put it that way.
Okay.
I shall sacrifice 100 bulls to honor your triumph. Save the bulls. Honor Maximus. He won the battle. Gentlemen.
In terms of favourite Richard Harris roles, it's always kind of a toss-up between Dumbledore in the first two Harry Potter films and Marcus Aurelius in the beginning of Gladiator.
He was quite good in Unforgiven as well. I don't know if you guys have seen that, but he plays a small role in that.
He was good in Patriot Games as well, where he plays an Irish terrorist.
That's right, he was in that too, I forgot. Yeah, he did a good job in that too.
I like him in this because he really sort of like conveys that feeling of, oh, God, well, I've had enough of fighting. I've had enough of war. I just want to live the rest of my days in peace.
It's also a lot more poignant considering that Sir Richard Harris very sadly passed away just 2 years after this movie.
Yeah, right after doing Harry Potter as well.
Yeah.
What do you guys think of this scene where Maximus goes through the camp to through the medical tent to inspect his wounded men?
I'm seeing this for the first time, and frankly, it's an amazing scene. It conveys the brutality and of not just of war, but also of victory as well. That you still have all the wounded and dead and dying to attend to. Yeah.
Actually, this is where Maximus would rather be. He doesn't want to go to the banquet. He's thinking, what have I done to earn the right to go to the banquet? Have I done more than these men? Have they done less than me? Is this fair?
Consider better myself. He really is truly more at home with the soldiers than he is in the Senate.
Pretty much, yeah, because he is a soldier.
Overall, wonderfully atmospheric scene, and definitely something that should have been placed in the theatrical cut.
Yeah, it doesn't really slow the movie down, does it?
No, if anything, it just amplifies the emotion of Maximus and of the scene even more, and serves as a juxtaposition to what we see earlier it juxtaposes the soldiers with the Praetorians and senators in this scene.
Yeah, because Maximus might be thinking, okay, just what exactly am I getting honoured for?
For some reason, that one soldier on the right of Quintus always makes me laugh.
Yeah, the one who says, back to barracks, General, or to room?
I know. Now, the actor who plays Senator Gaius he actually played Pompey, Gnaeus Pompey, in BBC's Ancient Rome: Rise and Fall of an Empire.
I haven't seen that. Is it good?
He's pretty good, actually. Yes. And for those who are fans of Gotham, I believe Jonathan Pertwee, aka Alfred, is also Julius Caesar in that BBC series.
What do you guys think of Connie Nielsen as Lou? Got a character's name.
Lucilla.
That's it, yeah, Lucilla. Connie Nielsen as Lucilla.
I think she's sublime. I think she's just as good as Russell or Joaquin Phoenix or Richard Harris. Do you feel similarly or differently?
Oh, I think she's great. She gets the very gentle and side of the character down quite well.
When your father releases me, I intend to return home.
I don't think Commodus, in this at the very least, is evil per se. He just hasn't had the best childhood. I mean, imagine growing up being told you're not good enough, and then it gets to the point where you have to prepare yourself to rule the most powerful empire in the world.
As well as the fact that even though we do see some of the better qualities of Marcus Aurelius, it is implied he was not a good father.
Yeah, he even says to Lucilla here, let's pretend I'm a good father and you are a loving daughter. And she says, this is a pleasant fiction, isn't it?
Indeed.
It's kind of, I think when the film first went into production, just before Ridley Scott signed on, the script, they didn't have much of a script. And they kind of had to make up some of the dialogue as they went along when they were filming it, I think.
And you believe the scene between Marcus Aurelius and Lucilla is one of them?
It might be. I mean, I can't really tell what's improv or rewritten.
But then again, you hear stories about films that undergo script writings during the filming or improvised dialogue, and a lot of the times those things happen to sink the movie, but not here because Ridley Scott was able to pull it off so seemingly effortlessly.
Yeah, well, that's what happens when you put a big movie like this in a safe pair of hands.
Exactly.
Do you agree with that, Rod?
Yeah, I think a lot of films have rewrites happening all the time, and it gets to the point where it's like, okay, it's something you treat like if an actor comes to you and says, hey, I've got an idea about how to do this differently. You listen to the idea, and if you think it's a good one, then you go with them. But if you don't think it's a good one, then you just, say that, that's not what you're looking for. And I think the same is said of if you're writing scripts day by day. It's sort of like, okay, what if we do this? Well, it's like, okay, that looks pretty good. We'll do that. We'll go with it. So I think that's a skill that comes into play even when you're doing rewrites, as well as coming up with different things that the actors do.
Yeah, that's true. And I love the little look that Maximus gives when he's watching Commodus fighting, as though he's thinking, is he trying to prove something? Is he showing off? And he's thinking, well, those are just assistants for Commodus. What would he do in a real fight?
Well, I sort of think
It
it's
also
saying
justifies
to the audience about how, he's not, he might on the outside look like someone who's not very dangerous. But I think it's just to show the audience that, there is a side to him where he is learning how to fight. So, there's some element of danger to him.
Yeah.
It also makes his decision to fight Maximus at the end not come off as contrived, because we've had this scene to set his decision to fight.
See, I think that might be some things that people miss. Because sometimes when they complain about something that's happened, it's because they might have missed it when they were watching the first time and they don't remember. So I think that's a good scene to show, and if people do pay attention, then when it comes to later, they'll go, oh yeah, of course we saw him fighting, so it's not as if he just, this came out of the blue.
True.
Let us talk together now. Very simply, as men. Maximus.
I know there are a lot of scenes in this film that you love, Richard, but what do you think of this scene in particular between Maximus and Marcus?
It's one of my favourite scenes in the film because Maximus is basically saying, okay, a lot of good men in my army died for you, so I won't let you think this way that what they fought for isn't real. And I can understand how he feels in one way completely. And it adds a lot to their characters as well, especially the way how Marcus he allows Maximus to speak freely, and you get the close sense that they are surrogate father and son in one way. Especially with the line a minute or two after this, where Marcus says to Maximus, "You are the son I should have had."
I feel you're very much right in that sense. And just to weigh in a little bit, when Marcus says, "I am dying, Maximus," that always gets to me because, yes, in hindsight, Richard Harris did pass away not too long after this film, so maybe he did feel like his time as an actor was really starting to run out.
Yeah.
In addition to the fact that one more similarity Gladiator does have with King Arthur is that both Maximus and Arthur both idolize Rome as the beacon of civilization, when of course reality does not reflect that.
I love the way how Maximus quietly talks about his home back home in Spain. I just love the way how Russell acts this scene. What do you guys think of his performance in this scene?
I think it's very tender and very earnest, and it's scenes like this which make you really start to really like the character.
Yeah, I think his performance overall throughout the movie is quite good. It's been a while since I saw this movie, but I do remember that I think he did such a great job overall. He doesn't seem miscast or anything like that. There doesn't seem to be anything that, to me at least, says they should have got someone else. I think he's quite capable, and I think he did deserve the Oscar win that he did receive.
Yes, when he said the soil is black like my wife's hair. When he says hair, you could hear a bit of his Aussie accent coming out.
Oh yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, but it's not a movie breaking thing. It's just something I've noticed the more times I rewatch this film, and it always makes me chuckle a little bit.
Well, it reminds me of how people talk about Sam Worthington's attempts at accents and how his Australian accent comes through, and comparatively, I'd say that he's definitely, Russell Crowe has definitely got a better handle on doing a different accent.
But the thing is, as well. Oh, sorry, Oscar, go on.
Do you think there is real rational sense behind Marx's decision to empower Maximus to the position of protector of Rome?
Well, yes and no. No, because it kind of screws up the line of succession, and Commodus is the rightful heir to the throne. But yes, in the sense that, as he says, Maximus understands that he's got morals and understanding of power that Commodus simply does not have. So I do have issues with Marcus's decision, because if he had just sat down with Commodus a few more times and was a bit of a better father towards him, maybe they wouldn't have this problem.
Very likely. Also, it's interesting to note, both Connie Nielsen and Russell Crowe are now part of the DC cinematic universe as Queen Hippolyta and Jor-El, respectively.
I suppose Queen Hippolyta is a Wonder Woman character?
Yes, she is the Queen of the Islands of Themyscira, where Wonder Woman comes from.
Wow, yeah, she does look a bit Amazonian, to be fair.
And I guess you could say that Russell Crowe is channeling a bit of his Maximus in his Jor-El performance.
Definitely, yeah.
What do you think about that, Rod?
Well, it never really occurred to me, to be honest, but his Jor-El is definitely sort of got that gravitas to him. I mean, I don't know. I mean, Jor-El's not really much of a warrior because he wasn't bred for that purpose. He was more for, science and that kind of thing, whereas General Zod was bred for battle. So, yeah, I don't know, but I'm not sure if I could agree with that, but
But would you at least admit that it is humorous to think of these two actors who once in Gladiator are now part of the DC universe?
oh yeah, it's just amazing how things change, and you get two people who are in a movie, and then years and years and years later, they manage to be in the same movie again.
Well, technically not the same movie, but same movie universe. But I guess that counts. What do you guys think of the romance between Maximus and Lucilla? I think it's fairly subdued, but not in a very blatantly annoying way. I just think it's subdued in a very appropriate sense.
Yeah, I like how underplayed it is. Like it's not saying, oh, these two love each other, la di da di da. It's sort of like implied that they had a tryst or two when they were younger.
That makes sense.
But Maximus is loyal to his wife and his family.
And you get the sense that even if he didn't have a wife and family, he still probably wouldn't be all that interested in Lucilla, considering that they are pretty much from polar opposite sides of the Roman societal spectrum.
That actress playing the part of Maximus's wife, she is Ridley Scott's life partner in real life.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Blimey.
And he's cast her in small roles in all of his films since then.
Huh.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, they met each other during the production of this film, and the rest is history. The actor playing Maximus's servant is called Tommy Flanagan.
And yeah, what has he been in?
He was in Braveheart, funnily enough. He was also in. God, I almost hate to say this. He was in Aliens versus Predator as well.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I was wondering. I watched a review of that recently by Decker Shadow, and no, not Decker Shadow. Sorry, what am I talking about? Off the Shelf Reviews.
The film has mostly been historically accurate, but this is where the film kind of starts to deviate from history because, as we know, Commodus didn't kill Marcus. But I don't mind that. But I don't mind that because I like the dramatic tension it brings to the film. It's like Commodus wants what he thinks he's entitled to, and you can't really blame him for feeling the way that he does in one way. I mean, I'm not saying what he does is right, but I do understand his feelings.
As both fans of Gladiator and Game of Thrones, I actually see a lot of Commodus in Jack Gleason's performance as Joffrey Baratheon. Do you feel that there's a correlation between them, Richard?
I can definitely see similarities between the two, yeah. Because Joffrey is another character who wasn't told how to rule or how to do things properly.
In addition to being moulded by his devious mother and just completely neglected by his drunken father.
Pretty much, yeah. Damn right his decision disappoints him because he's been told he's going to be the most powerful man in the world all of his life, and you're taking that away from him.
The ironic thing is, though, that's as far as I know, none of the successors in the Caesar Augustan family tree actually were direct descendants. They were almost always nephews or cousins or brothers-in-laws.
Courage. Perhaps not on the battlefield, but there are many forms of courage. Devotion.
So it's kind of weird to see the Roman emperors being presented almost as a straight lineage in this film,
Is one your list.
when as it turns out,
And then it was as if you
Commodus was kind of the exception to the norm in that he did inherit his father's position.
I searched the faces of
His reign wasn't exactly the best, though.
can make you proud. Kind.
I am actually feeling reasonably sympathetic towards Commodus in this scene, thanks to Joaquin's performance.
Yeah, I mean, his father's like, oh, wait, no, yeah, sorry, you're not going to inherit what you were promised. So, yeah, deal with it.
Was to live up to you. Caesar.
And as he says, I just wanted to live up to you.
Commodus. You are false as a son. Is my failure as a father.
Every time Commodus breaks up and the music becomes increasingly tense and dissonant, I always get chills down the spine, not only because I know what becomes of this scene, but also just how it's built up to.
I would put to the whole world if you would only love me.
It's kind of a twisted, touching scene in one way. It's like he loves his father so much, he kills him.
Well, if you hadn't seen this film, you could almost begin to believe that it was a heartfelt reconciliation, but it quickly transforms into patricide, and that's what makes it so twisted and dark.
And now he's as dead as that marble statue.
I don't know, I thought the statue still had some life in it yet.
Maximus the Emperor needs you. Church.
Yeah, that is that how you say hello to someone when they wake you up?
Men with me, brother.
And the thing is, as well, because Maximus is a soldier, he knows when someone has died of natural causes or when something else has happened to them. You can't fool a trained eye like that.
No, indeed.
He's doing his little inspection, his little forensic inspection, as it were. And he even asks Commodus, how did he die? And you can tell he just doesn't believe what Commodus says. I mean, Maximus just knows. He just knows that something suspicious has happened.
In this case, he probably knows that the Emperor's corpse isn't even cold yet. Therefore, he must have been murdered, not died peacefully in his sleep.
That's it, yeah.
My hand.
Your emperor asks for your loyalty. It's like,
I only offer it once.
no, I know what you've done, mate. But of course, the problem is Commodus has all the power now. And now I think you really start to see Commodus' descent into almost total madness. He's going right off the deep end now.
And it's also...
Because I think before now, you got the sense he was a good guy to some extent, but now he's going mad on power now.
I don't know. It's hard to say whether he really was all that good to start off with. I'd say he had some finer qualities, but in killing his father and becoming emperor, it enabled him to enact so many terrible crimes. There is an alternative quote to the famous "power corrupts" line, I think, and it goes, "Power doesn't corrupt, power enables."
To the senators. I need that
and that a person who is naturally good on the inside would still use power to achieve good things, whereas someone who isn't good on the inside would end up using power for malicious intent.
The Emperor has been slain.
The Emperor died of natural causes.
I just realised the actor who plays Quintus was also in The Dark Knight Rises in a very small role.
Do you remember which role it was?
He was a Wayne Enterprises board member.
Ah,
Right until dawn. Then execute him.
Just look at me. Look at me! Promise me that you will look after my family.
Your family will meet you in the afterlife.
So since Russell Crowe's character is one that was created for this film and isn't actually a historical figure, do you think that the reason they changed what happened between Commodus and his father was just to facilitate Russell Crowe as the new character?
It could, yeah, that's a fair observation.
It's like, we've got this character, so we need to change how Commodus' his father dies. So instead of just dying peacefully, it's like he got murdered.
Oh, and the actor horning up the sword without the helmet, that's Tony Curran, who would go on to play Vincent van Gogh in Doctor Who. And he also played King Stephen in the miniseries The Pillars of the Earth.
I thought he looked familiar. Don't know why I didn't connect the dots until just now.
He also played the vampire William, I think, in the Underworld series of films. I love how the music plays when Maximus sort of like runs forward with his sword, like he's ready to take these guys down. And someone said the way how he throws his sword is unrealistic, and I'm like, who cares? It looks cool.
Yeah.
And it's like this guy's on a horse, and Maximus doesn't have a horse, and yet he's standing his ground anyway. That just shows how badass he is. Now, what did you guys think of that little fight scene there?
I thought it was a decent taste for the more extensive and impressive action scenes to come. Well executed, brief but effectively to the point.
Yeah, I think it was quite well edited and shot and acted. I think it was a great scene there.
And of course, Maximus, he's got to ride through Germany, through France, all the way down to Spain, I think, which is a long way.
Yes, so he crossed the plains of France and is now in the foothills of the Pyrenees by now, judging by the rocky terrain around him. I'm sure none of the horses were injured to the point of death in this film, but those animals really did look like they were in horrible shape.
Yeah, bless them, yeah.
I know it's probably makeup and the horses weren't really that badly hurt in the experience, but still, they looked almost to the point of dying.
Now, this reminds me of The Dark Knight Rises, where people say, "Oh, how did Bruce Wayne get from so and so back to Gotham so quickly?" And it's like, well, there must have been a passage of time, and here you get the sense of the passage of time as well.
I'd say the passage of time is conveyed more effectively here because we actually do see Maximus travel, whereas compared to Dark Knight Rises, he's in northern India in one scene, and then the next scene we see him, he's in Gotham.
But you've also got the fact that when he climbs out of the pit, there's a settlement nearby, which is probably only about half an hour's walk from where he is.
I like the juxtaposing scenes between Maximus's family and the Praetorian soldiers, and Maximus regaining consciousness and picking up the speed again. That sense of desperation, urgency, and the fact that he is simply out of time all converges into one scene.
Yeah, and what they do to his family is kind of unforgivable, really.
I'd say.
Really, in one way, the Emperor's done the worst thing he can do, because if you think about it, the Emperor has sealed his own demise now. Because how do you, if you've done that to a man, how do you reason with him after you've done that? Because then he's only got one thing on his mind.
Pretty much.
I mean, taking your family and burning them and nailing them to the cross. That's just...
Not just the family, but also all of the household servants.
Yeah.
And raised fields and ruined, ransacked settlement houses. Commodus completely ruined any chance of Maximus escaping to a better life.
I like the fact that you just see their feet. That kind of makes the scene a bit more poignant, sad and poignant, in my opinion.
And it doesn't go overboard, it just allows the motion to speak for itself and not the shock and horror of their ruined corpses.
Yeah. It's like I said, you do this to a man. Nothing's going to stop him from getting what I would say is quite righteous vengeance. I mean, I suppose you guys can't really blame him for feeling the way that he does.
Of course not.
Definitely not.
I every time I see this film, I always get chills at that moment. And he inadvertently has his life saved by slave traders of all people. So I just love the irony of that.
I love the irony too, but I also find this transition between the Spanish landscape and waking up to find himself in the company of slavers to be really cool and really stylistically rich.
Yeah. And here we got Jimon Honsu. I think I'm saying that properly.
That's correct.
This was one of his early big roles, because before this he was in Armistead. And then
I saw Armistead.
And then he did this film, and from there his status as a leading man in Hollywood was pretty much confirmed. So yeah, go Jimon, you're a very cool actor. Yeah, I really like Juba. I think he's a pretty cool character.
I also love this particular setting in North Africa.
Yeah, and they actually went to Morocco to film this.
Nice. Once again, Sir Ridley Scott's dedication shines through.
Yep. That's the way how he does it. Location shooting if he can do it, CGI if he can't.
Also, I like how the film builds a slow but steady friendship between Maximus and Juba, with Juba healing Maximus's wound and eventually them fighting side by side in the arena.
And here we come to a very funny scene and a very cool intro for Proximo, played by Oliver Reed. And
this was his last role.
His last ever role. But I have to say, as far as last roles go, what a way to go out, because he just owns every scene he's in.
Just like Christopher Lee and Saruman.
Yeah. Proximo, I just love the look he gives the trader when he approaches him, as if to say, "What do you want? You sold me queer giraffes." The giraffes you sold me, they won't mate. They just walk around eating and not mating.
Yes, we know. Thank you.
That actor with him there is actually in The Mummy, the 1999 movie.
Yeah.
He's the guy
Omar
that gets killed by
Jarnili,
the
yeah.
bugs. Yeah.
Yeah.
I, I actually had a friend in university who was friends with his daughter.
New stock. Come and see them.
So I guess you could say I have a very distant connection to him.
Yeah, it's like that 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon thing.
What do you guys think of Oliver Reed as Proximo?
He's perfect.
Some are good for fighting, others for
I might say that about so many great actors in a great role, but honestly, I think he has that sardonic and pessimistic quality downright, and but at the same time we do see him gradually soften, but never lose his stern, crusty shell.
Yeah, I think he does
Overall,
a
I'd say
great job.
it was a well-written role for a great actor.
deserter. Maybe so, but who cares? It's a Spaniard.
I'll take 6 for 1,000.
1,000? The Numidian alone is worth 2,000.
These slaves are rotten.
It all adds to the flavor.
I love the way how Proximo says these slaves are rotten, as Terry's like, no, it all adds to the flavour.
I'll give you 2,000 and 4 for the beasts. That's fine.
And there was a bartering scene in The Mummy as well. Or a negotiation,
Also,
I should say.
Also, I love how Proximo just completely screws over the trader by saying, "I'll give you 6,000, but take 5,000 anyway."
Yeah. That's 5 for an old friend.
I love that.
Come on, how long does it take to get into my own house? I am Proximo. I shall be closer to you for the next few days, which will be the last of your miserable lives, than that bitch of a mother that brought you screaming into this world. I did not pay good money for you for your company.
Well, you can't ask for a better gladiator trainer than someone who's going to tell you that you're going to die, I guess.
As your mother
Well, at least he's honest.
was there at
Yeah.
your beginning. So I shall be there at your end. And when you
I think the actor who plays the German gladiator Hagen,
your transition shall be
I can't remember the actor's name. I think he was at the time the strongest man in the world.
He looks like he could well be.
And I love the way how Proximo says, gladiators, I salute you. And then we see the queer giraffes.
Nice, subtle humour from Ridley Scott's direction. And they say his films are completely devoid of humour.
They say a
which,
lot
as
of
we
things.
know, is
Yeah.
we know is untrue. Is completely untrue.
Of course.
Now, this actor here is Ralph Mueller, I think, and he actually played...
That's it, yeah. Ralph Mueller, yeah. And
Yeah, he played Conan
He
in the
was-
TV series.
he was the strongest man in the world at the time, wasn't he, Rod?
Oh, I'm not too sure about that part, but the only other thing I saw him in, aside from this, was the Conan the Barbarian television series they did.
Okay.
Huh.
And he's actually
Looking at
he
him
played-
now,
friends with Arnie. And there's actually a video that Arnie had of a wake-up alarm, and he actually splashed Ralph Mueller in the face with water to wake him up. It was like an ad for a gym or something.
Yeah, he looks like a bodybuilder like Arnold was.
to be honest, looking at him now, I think he would make a perfect Prince Adam in a He-Man movie if it was made around the early 2000s.
Oh, absolutely. And he was also in the Scorpion King movie with The Rock. He's one of the guys that he dispatched, that he kills in the sandstorm scene.
Ah. Now,
I
I might
read-
like the...
I
might
saw.
like
Sorry, go on.
sorry, I may like the first two Mummy films, but I haven't been interested in pursuing the Scorpion King film yet, Rod. Your thoughts on it?
stream in 7 languages.
Oh well, it's basically a over-the-top Conan the Barbarian movie. It's got rock music in it, and yeah, it's just, I don't know, it's one of those movies I don't know if you'd call it a guilty pleasure, but I definitely get a lot of fun out of it. It's definitely better than any of the made-for-television sequels.
I love
Fair
the
enough.
I love the line when the scribe asks Hagen what he must do, and says, "You must near into tomorrow. You must kill me, him, and the deserter, and 100 more, and there's no more to fight. You're free." I can't do that. No, but I can.
But I can.
I do like that we actually get to see a little more of Hagen in this extended cut than we do in the theatrical one.
I have to say, considering the fact that he was a bodybuilder / strongman first, actor second, Ralph Muller does a very good job with his role.
Yes, I'd say so as well. He could have been he really could have been the next Arnie instead of The Rock.
Yeah, it's funny you mention that because I think for a time there people were comparing The Rock to Arnie in terms of his career trajectory, but I think he's definitely gone off a different path than what Arnold ultimately did. So I think nowadays the comparisons are sort of not as close together anymore. Is sort of widened, I think.
Do we need their help today?
I mean, I don't see Arnold in a Baywatch movie.
Oh, we have
Maybe
this.
if it was, maybe if
we
it
have
was in
this-
the 90s and he did a cameo, but
We have this cool little extended scene as well where Commodus talks with someone who I think is also a Gladiator owner, which is a very funny scene where Proximus was like, "You want me to bet against my own men? That's unethical." And then the guy raises the price of the bet, and Proxima was like, "Yeah, all right then." It's a very funny scene.
also we just missed it, but there was a shot of some Christians in a cage and some lions in an adjacent cage.
Has that Numidian fought before?
Subtle historical details like that make me appreciate this film a little more.
He's a Spaniard. Might as well be a eunuch for what he brings to the ring.
Oliver Reed was great in The Adventures of Baron Munchausen. He played Mars.
But the Numidian makes it through alone.
He got quite pissed off when Baron Munchausen danced with his wife Venus, who was played by Uma Thurman.
Oh, I have to say, just look at Oliver Reed's face when the other slave trader says, "What if I make it 2,000?"
Yeah.
I just love his reaction there. You know, as you said, Oscar, you know, subtle humour. Oh, and this, I love this scene. This is actually one of my favourite quotes in a film ever. It's an amazing acting scene from Oliver Reed, and it's a great pep talk for the gladiators as well. Thrust this into another man's flesh.
Thrust this into another man's flesh. He will applaud and love you for that.
I feel goosebumps every single time I see this scene.
You may begin to love them for that. Ultimately, we're all dead men.
Could you imagine if in Conan the Barbarian with Arnold Schwarzenegger, they devoted like a large portion of the movie just to his gladiatorial matches between all the different people? I wouldn't actually mind seeing a Conan movie that was like that.
I don't think I would either, to be fair.
Same. Also, I love how Proximo ends his speech with, "We decide how to meet that end, so that we are remembered as men," and Maximus finally gets his resolve back.
Yeah.
And honestly, I think those are words to live by, even today. Perhaps more so today.
Yep, it's little things like that that makes this film the great classic that it is. I really think this is a film that's going to hold up even a dozen or so years down the road from now.
There's a very good chance of that, yes.
I think partially
I
what
mean,
helps in that is the setting too, the period piece setting.
It makes it timeless.
Heck, even a piss joke is still funny and doesn't detract from the overall tone of the film.
Yeah, because it's kind of sad what happens to the guy, to the poor scribe, who's not really a fighter at all.
Yeah.
Baptism by violence.
Well, it's kind of funny because they actually toned down just how violent the gladiatorial fights could get in this film. Because otherwise, I guess the certificate rating would have been higher. But I think I think they get it down well enough. You know, we're getting a taste of what it was like back then. I mean, imagine living in a world where people killing each other is entertainment.
Actually, from what I've read, gladiators would fight, but not to the death, because a gladiator was valuable and expensive to replace.
They were very expensive and valuable.
So the aim was to not kill off all your gladiators, but if they did die, then yes, the brutality of that death was often worse than what's depicted in this movie.
Well, especially when there's just no rules, like you could, decapitate, do whatever.
Yeah, I love how hardcore Hagen is, because he just kills that last guy with nothing but his fists.
This
Now,
one
do
was
you
a
think?
15, but I think on account of the violence, some idiot in the MPAA would have pushed it to an 18.
Oh, I always go ooh at that bit because the guy gets the trident in his groin.
I know.
Ooh.
Achievement unlocked. Survived your first battle as a gladiator. I should say as a gladiator because he's survived many battles before this, before he became a gladiator.
And then we get this awesome sweeping shot of Rome as it was back then, and again the CGI and the practical sets. It's just
Would you say the CG holds up, Richard?
100%. Yes, I would say it does. This was the first film to successfully use CGI to show expanded worlds in one way.
I guess you could say it gave Peter Jackson more confidence in his mission to create Middle Earth.
I would say so, yeah. Really, I think this film, in a lot of ways, did pave the way for bigger movies like Lord of the Rings.
Even though I don't think Lord of the Rings is a byproduct of its success as production.
No, I don't think it is either.
Classical Shakespearean actor Derek Jacobi, also well placed in this movie.
What does he conquer? In time back. He's young. I think he could do very well. For Rome or for you?
I love how, just everything. I love Hans Zimmer's score in this scene, especially.
It's cool because in the Assassin's Creed Brotherhood game, you actually can scale the Colosseum.
Wow.
Nice.
Yeah, it's actually part of a mission as well.
What do you guys make of the compositing between the practical sets and the CGI?
I think they're pretty seamless, actually.
Yeah, I think they are too.
In
There's probably a few spots where you can tell, but overall, it's not. It's a really good job they did.
Many matters that require your attention. For your guidance, Caesar, the Senate has prepared a series of protocols. Begin addressing
I like the fact that we do see the Senate in session,
beginning with basic sanitation for the Greek quarter.
where basically Commodus is getting told what to do, and he doesn't like being told what to do.
But I get the sense that even if he wasn't being told what to do, he's still vastly inadequate in the way he childishly spins his sword like a spinning top.
My father spent all his time
Yeah. He has to throw his weight around.
Learning philosophy. He spent his twilight hours reading scrolls from the Senate.
It's an
Kind of
interesting.
reminds me of Star Wars in one way, the way how the Emperor took over the Senate and eventually dissolved the Galactic Senate.
I doubt many of the people eat so well as you do, perhaps.
That's just what it kind of reminds me of in one way.
Well, the events in the prequels with the Republic being reorganized into the Empire and the Senate being dissolved, that was very much rooted in ancient Roman history. George knew his classical history to his credit.
Oh, absolutely. There's actually a book I'd love to read. I haven't got around to it. I think it's A Hero of a Thousand Faces.
I've heard of that book, but I've yet to read it.
Yeah, it talks about the hero's journey in storytelling and that kind of thing, and that's a lot of movies have taken from that, George Lucas included.
Leave your list with me. Caesar shall do all that Rome requires.
My lady.
Doug Walker, aka the Nostalgia Critic, he criticised this film for not being very original.
Sometimes originality can be overrated.
Commodus, the Senate has
That might be a bit of a shock to some people, but frankly, in all of our long years of telling stories through history or fiction, there really isn't that much new that's original under the sun.
Yeah, and I think while this film, in terms of its story, might not be that original,
leave the people there.
for me, execution is sometimes more important. And in terms of execution, like the storytelling and the acting and the setting and stuff like that, the important stuff, it pulls that off seamlessly. And the Sword and Sandals epic, as we mentioned earlier, was pretty much dead before this point.
But like, if you even
Last
look
year-
at movies like Alien compared to The Thing by John Carpenter, they're both movies about an alien that kills people. But it's just the execution of it, and there's different things in it. So the idea isn't original in The Thing to have this alien on board, in the location, wreaking havoc. That's not an original idea. It's what you surround it with and how you execute it.
And also, to give you another example, last year we had an original movie called Jupiter Ascending that did not do so very well. It wasn't because it was original, it was because it was just a badly made film. Badly written, not horribly acted, and just made no sense most of the time. Whereas, among the other sequel reboots that happened last year, we did have Mad Max, a successor to a popular franchise from the 80s, but so incredibly well executed in its action and characters, and to a certain extent even its story, that a lot of people fell for it. So and the evidence and that proves in my eyes that you give us a great story with good characters, and
Which is what this film has.
and the audience trust will follow.
I love the way how Rowan basically said, "I'll give the people a vision they've never seen before."
I love how richly visualized the streets of Rome are. While you could argue that HBO's Rome is grittier and probably more true to the sort of salt and sand nature of the city in antiquity, I have to admit the visual spectacle side of Rome in its imperial days is more appealing to me.
I think on the official commentary for this film, when they were thinking of having this scene where the two senators talk in a cafe, it was like, oh wait, no, they didn't have cafes and stuff like that in Rome. And Ridley Scott was like, well, sorry, I'm doing a cafe-like setting thing anyway.
Well, admittedly, I didn't know that, but he managed to make it fit in. Amazing how even anachronisms, if beautifully implemented, won't take you out of the film if they're if they serve a purpose and if they do their job well.
Well, I guess you could say the same of the drinking scene in Return of the King between Legolas and Gimli. You know, I mean, I don't remember reading anything in Tolkien about, drinking games, but that was incorporated quite well, something that was from, a bit more of a modern type era.
I like this added scene back in where Proxima says, "Don't just kill them. Remember, you're an entertainer. So entertain."
But the ironic thing is, Maximus goes up and disobeys him anyway, killing them
Yeah.
quickly and saying, "Are you not entertained?"
So entertain, yeah. That kind of makes that line make a bit more sense now, though, doesn't it?
I guess it does, now that I think about it.
That is a good point. I love that shot that just passed with all the, I can't remember what it was, petals probably, or something falling.
Yeah. But I think the way how I take it, when Proxima says "go and entertain," I think I kind of get the sense that Maximus is thinking, "Oh, okay, then I'll bloody entertain them then."
Yeah, let me watch as I slaughter
Oh,
these guys.
even the massive big guy is backing away from Maximus.
Yeah.
I love the way how he stabs the guy in the chest with the two swords, walks away, and then comes back and decapitates him.
I know. Amazing.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
I'm not.
He chucked a McEnroe.
That's pretty much the best response you can give to someone who doesn't like Gladiator. Just ask him, "Are you not entertained?" And I think they said on the commentary as well that was Ridley Scott's way of asking the audience, "Are you enjoying this film? Are you? Well, good. Sit down, keep watching it."
And then throw a sword at the people who say that.
Boy, you sent for me. Yes, I did. You're good, Spaniard, but you're not that good. You could be magnificent. I'm required.
And the good thing is as well, Oliver Reed did unfortunately die while making this film, but fortunately and thankfully they did manage to film all of his characters' important scenes first.
Spectacles to commemorate his father, Marcus Aurelius. I find that amusing.
Yeah, didn't really need to worry about having to do CGI and.
Marcus Aurelius opposed us now. So finally, after 5 years of scratching and
They had to in one scene, and I'm sure I will definitely point it out when we get to it.
where we belong.
That's right. Yeah, I forgot. I
Um,
wasn't sure if they had to use a little bit.
Oh, you should see the Colosseum, Spaniard.
I love the way how he whispers when he talks about the Colosseum.
Watching every movement of your sword, willing it to make that killer blow. Silence before you strike,
Uh,
the noise afterwards.
as if he's got a lot of nostalgia for his glory days.
You could say that, yes.
And that's kind of
And
what he
once again-
sees in Maximus.
And once again, Oliver Reed conveys that splendidly.
He really was one of the greatest actors ever, wasn't he?
Very likely, yes.
Your freedom. A long time ago, the Emperor.
I think he won a posthumous BAFTA for his performance.
Wooden sword. Symbol of your freedom. He touched me on the shoulder, and I was free.
And that was true. A wooden sword in those days was a symbol of a gladiator's freedom.
I did not say I knew him. I said he touched me on the shoulder once.
Unfortunately, I didn't really get around to covering the Colosseum and Gladiators, so I can't verify that.
Yeah, I actually, the first time I saw it was when it came out on VHS.
From me. I wasn't the best.
I still own my Gladiator VHS, actually. I don't watch it, but I still own it.
In the crowd. And you'll win your freedom.
Win the crowd and you win your freedom. I love that line.
So, Spaniard, we shall go to Rome together and have bloody battle. And the great whore will suckle us until we are fat and happy and can suckle no more. And then we will not let her die.
You gotta love how excited Proximo is about going back to the Colosseum.
Indeed.
But the whole thing about Marcus Aurelius closing down the Colosseum, no, that never happened. But again, who cares? It's telling a story.
Yeah. And it's telling its story well, and that, as we've stated before, is what's important.
Yeah.
And I mean, he's got nothing left to lose anyway, so it's sort of like one of those things, well, he may as well fight as strong as he can for as long as he can, and, he's got no family to live for, so.
My home. My wife is preparing food. My daughters carry water from the river. Will I ever see them again? I think not.
You believe you'll see them again when you die?
We've actually kind of lost focus on Juba for a while, but it's good that we get a sense of who he was before he became a slave.
They will not die for many years.
So in the sense that Maximus finally does have a kindred spirit, at last.
You see.
And you've got one man who's lost his family, physically, as in, like, they're dead. And then you've got a man who's lost his family, but they're still alive, for all we know. And, it's kind of, they've got some sort of trait or similarity they can share. Sort of bond
Exactly.
over.
And I like the reassuring way that Juba says you'll see them again, but not yet. Not yet. And yay, we're going back to Rome. I think if there's one thing Ridley Scott always does brilliantly, it's showing off the size and the spectacle of everything. Like, just look how massive the city looks in that shot.
Definitely, he's really good at doing that kind of thing. Even now, you look at Prometheus and the scale of things in that film.
It's an article once described him as the Cecil B. DeMille of the digital age.
I think that is 100% correct.
It's actually funny because that director remade his own movie. He did the original Ben-Hur film, and then he did the remake.
He did the same thing with the Moses movie. He did an original version, Ten Commandments, then remade it with Charlton Heston.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that one was a similar situation too.
And of course, Ridley Scott rather controversially adapted his own version of the story of Exodus in Exodus, Gods and Kings. Not his best received film.
I'm still yet to see that, actually.
I thought it was alright. Would have been better if we see the extended cuts, I think, though.
Well, I'll wait till I'll watch that then instead of the theatrical.
Assuming we get one, I don't. Yeah.
I don't think an extended edition is coming. That film came out almost 2 years ago now, so
Yeah.
I'm not counting on anything at this point.
Oh, okay. I didn't realise it wasn't something that came out. I thought it came out.
I think Commodus is a bit creepy in this scene, the way how he bends down towards the sleeping Lucius.
Oh, very creepy.
I mean, not in a paedophilic sort of way, just kind of like...
But dangerously close, you have to admit.
Yeah.
Both literally and metaphorically.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, more the sense that he's seeing the future of his dynasty, and he'll do anything, literally anything, to bring the next parts of that dynasty onto his side, and he'll do anything to protect it.
Indeed.
In an almost psychotic way. No, in fact, in a psychotic way, actually. It's a shame in one way that Joaquin Phoenix was nominated for Best Supporting Actor at the Oscars, but he didn't win.
It's an equal shame that Ridley Scott didn't win Best Director for Gladiator.
Which I think a lot of people would agree is one of the biggest, like, blunders, crimes in terms of decision making that the Academy's ever done.
I think the time is almost right. I could announce the dissolution of the Senate.
Because Gladiator won Best Picture.
You think I should?
And it's like, well, okay, what about the guy who got that Best Picture award? You know, who made that Best Picture award happen?
There haven't been that many films that I feel really deserve to sweep the Oscars. Gladiator and Return of the King are just among them. And I also think The Dark Knight also deserved to sweep as many wins and nominations as it deserved, but ultimately wasn't given the chance.
No, Slumdog Millionaire, enough said. Which nobody really likes anyway.
Nope.
I haven't even seen it.
You're not missing much.
I haven't seen it either, and I'll take your word for it.
There's just some movies that I think I don't really need to see it. You know, some people might say, well, no, you should give every movie a chance. And it's like, well, not really. You can pick and choose. You don't have to see a movie just because everyone else has seen it.
I think, for me personally, that was another scene that just shows how far off the fringe that Commodus is going. Like, he has all this power now, but he doesn't quite know what to do with it. Basically, he's a spoiled child, but he's the most powerful spoiled child in the world.
Wanting power is not the same as knowing how to use it.
Yeah. I mean, for one thing, there's no more wars to fight. You know, there's nowhere left to expand the empire. You know, it's like, what do I do? And yeah, we get another scene where we find out that to pay for all the expensive gladiatorial games, Commodus is selling the city's grain reserves.
It almost sounds like he's suicidal in his attempts to bring these games to a reality.
Yeah.
Yeah. He has to know that this would lead to starvation and riots and the streets erupting into violence.
I think that's where they incorporate elements of the Emperor Nero. Because the real Commodus, I don't think, was that evil and twisted. But it's something that the Emperor Nero would have done.
Commodus and Gladiator really does seem like a fusion of the real-life Commodus as well as Nero and Caligula as well.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the other one I was thinking of. Thank you for reminding me of that.
No problem.
For the most part, Commodus is historically accurately portrayed, but they also add a few more elements basically to show just how corrupt and too mad on power the Roman emperors got towards the end. Because when they had no one left to fight and they didn't expand the empire anymore, it was kind of the beginning of the end, because if you haven't got anyone left to fight and you've got kind of half-mad people with all the power, they start fighting themselves and each other. That's kind of like the unraveling of it all.
You have all those elements, as well as the fact that Rome had taken its success and its newfound liberties for granted and not really fought to maintain them.
No. And in one way, the two people who are in danger the most are Lucilla and Lucius.
It's ironic that the two surviving members of the royal family are the ones who have the least freedom and are in the most danger from Commodus's wrath.
Yeah. Because you might notice as well that Commodus hasn't tried to take a noble wife to produce his own heirs.
Yet another trait he no doubt shares with his with the characters in Game of Thrones. It's a good thing Joffrey didn't start hitting on his sister by the time book 3 or book 4 rolled around.
The more I think, there's even fighting pits similar to the Colosseum in Game of Thrones as well. I mean, in that episode of Game of Thrones, I was literally expecting Russell Crowe to show up and be like, Game of Thrones, are you not entertained?
It's
she's hard on for
amusing
Russell.
in a morbid sort of way. Yeah, it's kind of amusing to watch these Roman hookers just throw themselves at Maximus's feet and he's not having it.
Well, it's not like they can do much anyway on the way to the Colosseum. Just have a bit. That'd be a very quickie.
And I love this scene between Proximo and the Gladiator, the arena announcer. The crowd wants battles, or the Emperor gives them battles. You get the Battle of Carthage. You mean the Massacre of Carthage?
Exactly.
If you want to give away the best gladiators in the whole of the Empire, then I want double the rates.
I want double the rates. You'll get your contract rates, or you get your contract cancelled. You don't like it? Crawl back down that shithole that you came from.
Why do I get the feeling that guy was modelled on studio executives that Ridley has worked with over the years?
Maybe they had the same eyebrows too.
It wouldn't be surprising if that was the case.
It's like, cut your damn eyebrows off. Shorten them.
Cut your eyebrows, they're tickling my forehead. Do you think it's possible that Maximus will have met Lucius before? Because he's certainly, even though we're told he doesn't recognize him, he does seem to be reasonably friendly towards him.
I don't think he has any reason to not be friendly towards him.
Suppose so.
And again, the subtle humour where he says, he could crush a man's skull. Man's no, but a boy's.
Indeed.
But the other thing too, it's like it's a nice little scene that sort of shows maybe what sort of relationship he had with his own son.
That's a really good point, actually.
What does your father say?
My father's dead.
Master Lucius, it is time.
I have to go.
Your name is Lucius?
Lucius Varus. After my father.
And then when he says, Lucius Verus after my father, Maximus thinks, oh, am I being watched? And then I think that kind of serves as a bit of inspiration for when he gets the helmet that hides his face.
Never thought of it that way. Brilliant. I really do like this ritual of Maximus pulling the dirt from beneath him and rubbing it into his palms. But the other thing is, based on what I heard from what were proposed sequel ideas for Gladiator, it would have become extremely annoying because basically, in the dropped sequel ideas, Maximus is reincarnated throughout different stages of history, like the Middle Ages, the Napoleonic Wars, and so on and so forth. And the only way he can stay sane is by repeating that ritual with the dirt in his hands.
Oh, thank God Ridley Scott and Russell Crowe came to their senses and basically shit-canned that whole sequel.
Pretty much.
When they realised how stupid it was. When they realised how stupid it was going to be.
I'm sure they knew it was stupid. I think it was a studio probing that got them to even slightly consider it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good when cooler heads prevail ultimately and things like that don't go ahead.
Yeah, I think we definitely dodged a bullet there.
I mean, they could have just decided, let's do a movie using Gladiator in the title, added a subtitle, and then just make it a completely different film to ride on the success of Gladiator. But
As a whole load of other films did, not long after this film came out. Some of them good, some of them not so good.
we have that realm of made for television and made for DVD and all that kind of stuff too, and online, made for online streaming, where they have, you know, obviously they want to maximise their own profits based on a previous big blockbuster film. It's sort of like those mockbusters that Asylum like to do and release before the major one comes out.
We reach back to hallowed antiquity to bring you a recreation of the second fall of
This is Cartman's ancestor.
Cartman's out. Yeah, I can see that actually.
Plain of Zarma. There stood the invincible armies of the barbarian Hannibal.
The ironic thing is, even though the Maximus and his team are labelled the Barbarian Horde, they are styled far more like the Roman legionnaires of the time. And the same is true. And the same is true in reverse. The people on the chariots were probably much closer to the Carthaginian army than they were the legionnaires. Much closer.
Bit of poetic irony for you there.
Anyone here been in the army? Yes. I served with you at Vindavana. You can help me. Whatever comes out of these gates, we've got a better chance of survival if we work together. Do you understand? If we stay together, we survive.
A bit of Russell Crowe's Aussie accent came out there when he says, "We stay together, we survive." Good day, mate.
Yeah,
No,
mate.
to be fair, it sounded badass.
Whatever comes out, we just stay alive and we just work together, eh? That's what we do, eh?
And this whole entire action scene. No, what can you say about this scene that's not already been said?
Marmalade.
I can say one thing. Stupid guys for breaking formation.
He used to be a gladiator, but then he took an arrow in the chest.
And then he will no longer live because he is dead.
Was that a Monty Python reference?
No,
I
that's
believe so.
that's Skyrim.
Oh. No, I know what you said was a Skyrim reference. I just thought that what Oscar said sounded like it was from Monty Python.
Oh, sorry.
That's alright.
I love the amount of discipline Maximus is able to instill in these otherwise fairly desperate gladiators. They went from being hopelessly disjointed and easily picked off to a formidable fighting unit.
And the audience is being entertained.
Down low! Nice bit of tactics there. I love the way how Hagen just knees that guy in the face and breaks his nose.
Yeah. I love how he was able to take a literal arrow in the leg and not be. Oh!
Well, Ralph Merler's a tough mofo.
Oh yeah.
Bit of continuity error. You see the gas canister they used to launch the chariot in the air, but they can't exactly reshoot that scene, I guess.
No.
Always makes me wonder why they didn't edit that out in post or something. But oh well.
They probably thought that it goes by so quick that not everyone would notice, maybe.
Probably.
But, you know, back then, of course, we didn't have... Well, No, DVD was sort of coming out around this time, but with the VHS tapes, you couldn't get a lot of image clarity and go through it slow motion like you could now. So there's also that aspect. They put stuff in a movie, and with DVD and Blu-ray, you can just go through it and see any mistakes like that.
I love. For me, this action theme is the theme of the film,
Definitely.
and you can hear similarities between this and Hans's score for Pirates of the Caribbean.
A little
But
bit, but I still think
what-
there's a distinct enough identity between them.
But I kind of prefer this score. It's a lot more heroic and epic, in my opinion.
Well, that bit of music that just went past, like, yeah, it does sound like what he did in Pirates of the Caribbean, but, you know, it's another example of his style, that's all. You just, you know.
Yeah.
And it's not like someone else did it.
Yeah, I love the way how Commodus goes, with his tongue.
He's very into it. Or he's getting very into it, you might say.
And the way how Proxima was like, ha 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 ha, yeah, it's my guys are the best.
Indeed.
That was all done in one take.
Which bit, specifically?
This action scene, it was all done in one take.
That I find incredibly hard to believe. I believe you, but it still blows my mind.
I was joking.
What?
I was joking. No, it actually
Never mind.
it actually took a lot of setup and a lot of time to film.
See, that makes 100 times more sense than what you said previously.
It's all right. I should have probably said it more sarcastically.
My fault for not being able to read sarcasm.
Yeah, I believe that a lot of these, like even that scene just now, Russell Crowe was a fully CG realised character for that one moment. And this footage, this is actually taken from the era.
I like the way how the gladiators, they kind of surround Maximus to protect him. And they actually do obey his order when he tells them to drop their weapons. And in this scene, I think he would have killed Commodus right there and then, but he didn't want to do it in front of Lucius.
That does seem to be the most likely case, considering that he had recently lost his wife and son. I guess you could say he had put any thoughts of killing in front of a family member out of his mind.
Yeah, he wants to do it. He wants to do it honorably.
Exactly.
There'd probably be some people that said, "Why don't you just go and do it?" You know, and don't care about that and that kind of thing, which I guess could happen, but then the movie would be over now.
I guess you could say that there was a greater comprehension of honor in those days than certainly more so than today. So things had to be done a certain way.
I love the way I said, "My name is Gladiator."
I agree. Beautiful scene.
My name is Maximus Decimus Meridius, commander of the armies of the North, general of the Felix Legions, loyal servant to the true emperor Marcus Aurelius.
I love Commodus's reaction. He's just had a complete loss for words. It's like he's seen a ghost.
Pretty much.
A ghost that wants to kill him.
And of course everyone else's reactions as well is also incredible. With the entire crowd voicing their approval of Maximus by asking him to live, and Commodus having no choice but to acquiesce.
Yeah. I like how he tries to calm them down as well. So yes, I'm making a decision. Yeah, the people are not on his side at all.
Nope.
You know, just like how evil, how just like kind of natural evil eyes that Joaquin Phoenix has.
He plays this really well. I often wonder what he would have been like as an alternative Anakin Skywalker in the Star Wars prequels.
I still wish he was cast as Lex Luthor.
That would have been interesting.
Yeah. But back into this scene, we can definitely agree that he was, once again, like Russell Crowe, perfect casting.
I like to think of the scene where the audience cheers. It's Ridley Scott's career was back on track finally, after the series of flops he had during the 90s.
I could see that.
I think it's an incredible scene. You know, Maximus is a bit like a conquering hero in this scene, and I suppose he is really.
He's like a god among men. He officially has more power than the Emperor. He can, by winning the hearts of the people, he compelled Commodus to let him live.
We have another scene which I can see why this was cut out, to be honest, but it's a good scene because we see more of the psychological torments with Commodus, and he goes up down to the catacombs, I guess, and he really studies the statue bust of his father.
It's interesting too because that even after all this time, there is still a certain degree of not just resentment, but also wish fulfillment as well. The sense that he wished he could have had with Marcus Aurelius what what Maximus had with Marcus Aurelius.
Yeah. I wanted to be emperor. Kind of adds a little bit more sympathy for Commodus in one way, I think.
I guess it does, but
He'll forever live in his father's shadow.
I think sometimes, though, there comes a point where an individual has to forge their own destiny or whatever, regardless of whatever shadow they feel they're living under.
And it's like Maximus said, I think you've been afraid all your life.
Yeah. I love the way how Joaquin Phoenix delivers this line.
I love it too. Let's stand back and watch it.
Why is he still alive?
Vexes me.
I'm incredibly vexed.
I'm terribly vexed. That line always makes people giggle when we play it on in classic society meetings in university.
I love how brave Lucilla is in one way, because she knows she could be killed at any moment, and here she has to hold her resolve and lie through her teeth to her brother to protect her son.
I felt nothing.
She has to act very cold when talking about Maximus.
No more than I wounded him.
They lied to me, Germania. They told me he was dead. They lied to me.
So much so in this scene, Lucilla, she tells Commodus to kill people in order to get his point across. You must let the legions know that treachery will not go unpunished.
I wouldn't want to be your enemy.
And the way how, and then Commodus says, "I wouldn't want to be your enemy," and well,
Well,
she is your enemy.
honestly, I was mostly enraptured by that scene and the two's performances. If I tune out, it's usually because I'm really very much drawn into the story.
Oh, as we said earlier, it's not necessarily about being original; it's how it tells a story that's more important.
Of course, definitely.
You know, I only just realised where I've seen Connie Nielsen before because she's not an actress that I have followed or know much about, but she was in The Devil's Advocate, the movie with Al Pacino and Keanu Reeves.
Whoa!
She she played the daughter that he wanted Keanu to
She was also in the film Soldier with Kurt Russell.
Oh really? Because I've only seen that once, and that was back when it came out on VHS, so it's been a while.
And I love how she's being strangled and yet she doesn't break at all.
Of course. Yet at the same time, you can see in her eyes that there is a possibility of breaking, yet she keeps her resolve.
She understands Maximus.
My son was innocent.
So is mine. Must my son die too before you can trust me?
What does it matter if I trust you or not?
The gods have spared you. Don't you understand? Today I saw a slave become more powerful than the emperor.
She doesn't seem to have much sympathy for the death of his son.
That is power. The mob is
She
ready.
does seem more outwardly concerned about
Everything.
the safety of her own son rather than the fate of Maximus's family.
My brother is most of all innocent.
Well, I think you could make the argument that she knows that time for mourning will come later. Now's the time for action to save the city.
Politicians who have dedicated their lives to Rome. One man above all.
Plus, of course,
To fight my rage.
as stated before, it is her son who's in danger, and you can't at all blame her at all for wanting to protect him.
Slave. What possible difference can I make?
This man knows what you.
Then have him kill Commodus.
I knew a man once. A noble man. A man of principle who loved me. This man's son would rule well.
The man is gone. He did his work well. Get you out of here. Guards! The lady has finished with me.
Now, this appears to be a new scene with what appears to be Praetorians ordering some prisoners to be executed.
Yeah, because literally a few minutes ago, Lucilla, she did say, "You must let the legions know they will not go unpunished for their treachery." And we get a scene where that gets paid off.
Good point.
It's interesting the purple that they're wearing. What sort of significance would that be?
Well, purple was the colour of the Roman emperors,
They must have known of Maximus's escape.
Though in contrast to the steely grey armour of the legions, the Praetorians are very clearly allied strictly to the Emperor, and not to the army.
Do you think this scene should have been left in the theatrical version?
I honestly don't know. I mean, I don't think it does add something, but I don't think it provides as much to the film as a lot of the other scenes we've seen so far.
Yeah, I can't really comment because this is the first time seeing the extended version for me. I've only ever seen the theatrical.
What you have here, this was you. I never told me.
I didn't know.
You didn't know. But a general is always in control. Always in command. Isn't he?
Yes, Caesar.
This same music we hear later on in the film as Maximus is
The command.
being put to the Colosseum for the last time. And I don't know how to feel about that. I mean, I always associate this music with that scene, and seeing it here just feels honestly a bit out of place.
Yeah, I can see why you think that.
I know there are some people who really do not care for you reusing the same music but in different scenes.
Makes you wonder how they got that snake.
And the fact that it looks to be a real snake, not an animatronic. Even more
I think
impressive.
I think it was real. if
I'll be right about that.
If it's an animatronic, it's a bloody impressive one.
Yeah.
Italy? Yes. In many countries.
It says a lot about Hagen. The fact that he'll take this risk for Maximus shows how much of a loyal friend he is. But obviously, he's just kidding. He's just kidding around.
Exactly.
Yeah, a good moment of humour.
Again, subtle, well implemented.
Feels in line with their characters as well.
Definitely.
You have a great name. You must kill your name before he kills you.
And we have another cool fight scene in the Colosseum.
We haven't really touched that much on Derek Jacobi as Senator Gracchus. How do you two guys feel about him here?
I don't pretend to be a man of the people, Senator. But I do try to be a man for the people.
Oh, well, I don't really have anything to say, really. It's just one of those performances that just seems natural all the way through.
He definitely fits the part. And, it's Derek Jacobi, and one of the greatest Shakespearean actors of all time. I like how it's interesting to think as well that Emperor Commodus did sometimes go into the arena to fight other gladiators, but whenever he did, he always made sure the fights were rigged so that he would win. And you get a kind of a sense of that with this scene by getting a former gladiator who could be better than Maximus and then the whole thing with the tigers as well. You know, he wants Maximus dead, and this is like probably the most like subtle way he could go about it.
Well, if you're going to assassinate someone, make it look like an accident.
Pretty much, yeah.
He knows too well how to manipulate the mob.
Marcus Aurelius had a dream that was wrong, Proximo. This is not it. This is not it.
Marcus Aurelius is dead, Maximus. We mortals are but shadows and dust. Shadows and dust, Maximus!
I guess that's what we kind of all become, you know, once we die.
Shadows and dust.
They embrace him like he's one of their own.
Interesting to think as well, you didn't have to pay anything to get into the Colosseum. It was completely free.
You mean Commodus?
No, I mean for the people, for the common people of Rome. They didn't have to pay any money to get into the Colosseum. They could watch the gladiator fights for free.
Heck, sometimes if you were lucky, you got a free loaf of bread to go with your show. Hence the origin of the phrase "bread and circuses."
That's the first time I've heard of that phrase. Ah, here we go. Sven Ole Thorsen. He's been in a lot of movies with Arnold Schwarzenegger.
I thought he looked
Do you think-
familiar.
Yeah.
Do you think this could have been a role Arnie would have played, just as a sort of almost side cameo as Tigress of Gaul?
I don't know, really. 2000s. This was. He would have done.
This is 2000s.
End of Days. In 2000.
Okay.
Oh, Kitty just wants to play.
Yeah.
Now,
But-
what do you know about the use of the tigers in this scene, Richard?
Those are actual tigers. Those are actual tigers there, and they had to like keep prodding them with a long stick to make them act aggressive and go you know, at the actors. And because they spent most of their time they're essentially big cats, bigger versions of domestic cats, and cats love to sleep, and the tigers are, you know, they're cats. They spent most of their time during the shoots sleeping on their fronts basically, and it took them ages to get them riled up and to act like this. and they had a guy standing by with a dart gun, but they knew that they were as quick as small cats, and you know, they knew like one swipe with those claws at your neck and you're gone.
And this is probably one of the very last instances of live animals in a period piece shoot like this.
Yeah.
Those tigers would be CGI if Gladiator was made today.
Yeah, they most likely would be. Is it bad? I kind of feel sorry for the tiger when he stabbed him.
I feel sorry for it too. I'm just glad they knew what they were doing when shooting that scene.
Well, they would have also used dummies in some instances too, so...
Oh yeah, that's
Yeah.
what I mean. That is what I mean, don't worry.
I just love the way how Maximus took his shield and broke Tigress's nose and jaw, and then stabs him in the foot. And really, I guess that's what Tigress gets for wearing a kind of overly designed helmet.
A little overly designed, perhaps, but still a cool design.
Yeah.
Also, we have Brian Blessed in a cameo role as one of the spectators.
Has it gone by? Or is he the one who shouts?
He was the one who shouts, and he has the big, bushy black beard. Hard to miss.
And of course, Maximus defies Commodus a bit more. Maximus, yeah, that's Brian Blessed. I would recognise that voice anywhere.
Excellent. I honestly didn't know that. I knew he had the one cameo there, but I didn't think it was him who said that. Awesome.
Yeah, they said the Tigers were difficult to work with in the sense that it was very difficult to make them, be threatening and stuff because like domestic cats, they just wanted to sleep.
I think I remember watching a making of video in which one of the tigers was eyeing Russell Crowe very eagerly, very hungrily.
Yeah.
What am I going to do? You simply won't.
I love that line. You simply won't die. as though Maximus is a piece of garbage that the Emperor just cannot get rid of, no matter what he tries.
Pretty much.
Only one more life to take. Then it is done.
Take it now.
Take my life now.
Even if Maximus did kill Commodus right there and then, his name would be dishonored in that arena in front of all of Rome.
Pretty much, yeah. Oof. Oh, I really hate Commodus as a character when he says this. Your wife moaned like a whore, and oof. But of course, what he doesn't realise is all this does is motivates Maximus even more.
Exactly.
And the time for honouring yourself will soon be at an end, Highness, is, I think, the greatest subtle "I'm going to fucking kill you" line ever. That has to be one of the greatest threats ever, I think.
In addition to the fact that with one word, a lowly gladiator puts down the Emperor of Rome by saying Highness instead of Majesty.
Yeah. And Commons is like, oh, they're still cheering for him. I have to say, in that dress, Connie Nielsen looks beautiful.
Definitely.
And the Gladiators were the rock stars of their day, which is why you see banners with Maximus's name on it.
Tell the men their general lives. Find me. Find me.
I will find him.
Oh gosh.
Oh, I just realised why you referenced that, because, yeah, Russell Crowe was also in Man of Steel.
Plus, I tend to imagine what Michael Shannon as Zod would have looked like if he was dressed as a Roman general.
Your family in the afterlife. Oh yes. What do you say to them? My boy. I tell him I will see him again soon. To keep his heels down when he's riding his horse. To my wife.
To my wife, Aussie accent coming out again. I'm sorry. I know Russell Crowe is a great actor, but sometimes I suppose he can't help it. With the inflections, sometimes his Aussie accent does creep through. And there's nothing wrong with that. I just think it's funny whenever I notice it.
That's fair enough.
The whole thing's like some crazy nightmare.
He is defying you. Every victory is an act.
That one senator, Falco, he has to have a lot of patience to be able to put up with Commodus's constant whining.
You do get the sense he feels like saying, "Oh, shut up, you little bitch."
You're the emperor of the world, you ungrateful bastard. Quit whining.
Yeah, quit whining, Your Highness.
I can't remember the name of the actor who plays Falco, but he's very good.
He
He's
is.
he's very he's very sinister.
I think he's appeared in a lot of movies and a lot of shows on the BBC as well, so he's quite recognisable.
His voice is quite recognisable, I think. Oh, his name's on the tip of my tongue. I'm sure it will come to me any second.
It's David Schofield.
That's
the
it,
one.
David Schofield. Yeah, he was also in Pirates of the Caribbean and the film Valkyrie. That's
Oh yeah.
the other stuff I've seen him in.
Yeah, the other thing
They say he's such a professional actor. He even stands by on scenes that don't involve his character. That's how much of a professional actor he is.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of stories of actors, after they've filmed whatever scene they're in, and they still stick around and stay on set and watch the other actors do their roles in scenes that they're not in with them.
But yeah, good shout out there, Rod. It was killing me not being able to remember his name.
That's all right.
Thought perhaps I'd seen you for the last time. Dead? Close. How long have the men been in Ostia? Winter.
That scar on Tommy Flanagan's face, that is an actual scar. He got that from a bar fight in Glasgow, where he's from.
Holy shit.
Yeah, he says, "Oh yeah, I was a little bit of a rough youth, back in the day." Yeah, guys, a lot of bar fights when he was younger.
Well, to his credit, he does fit into the Roman setting quite splendidly.
Yeah.
Maximus is defeating our Emperor Commodus! What are we to do? He's defying everyone! By doing this to him, they do...
Interesting little sideshow they have there.
Yeah, basically mocking the emperor.
Exactly.
And because Commodus doesn't have a sense of humour, he probably wouldn't have seen the funny side to that.
Yeah.
And I serve the General Maximus. I settle still.
Stop. Stop.
Stop!
Stand back.
The General sends word he will meet your politician.
For your orders, sir.
My lady.
Imagine living that lifestyle where you basically get carried around everywhere you go.
Hmm.
Bit of a throwback to the Egyptian queens of old, I guess.
Well, I guess some things don't really change across all of antiquity, whether you're in Rome or Greece or Egypt.
The Romans did conquer what used to be the Egyptian Empire, didn't they?
The Ptolemaic Egypt, yes. By which point Egypt had been mostly Greekified by that point.
I hope my coming here today is evidence enough.
I know Russell Crowe's a good actor when he's able to hold a scene against such a seasoned actor like Derek Jacobi.
I can speak for them.
Outside the city walls. Have fresh horses ready to take me to Ostia. My army is encamped there. By nightfall of the second day, I shall return at the head of 5,000 men.
But the legions all have new commanders. Lord Commodus.
Let my men see me alive, and we shall see that the world is mine.
This is madness. No
What do you guys think of
entered the capital.
Maximus's plan to forcibly take Rome?
The time for half-measures and talk is over.
Maybe it needs to be done because Commodus is leading it to shit, basically.
What then? You'll take your 5,000 warriors and...
Admittedly, he is 1,000 times more trustworthy than Commodus's generals, but at the same time, it's still leading an army into the city. It's still very much doing what Julius Caesar did all those hundreds of years ago.
Yeah, which was Caesar did take power from the Senate, didn't he?
He
I
did,
think,
yes.
yeah.
Poor Commodus.
And then his adopted son, I think it was, Augustus, became the first emperor.
Pretty much. Caesar was emperor in all but name, really.
Yeah, because he was a military general to begin with, wasn't he?
Exactly.
Then he seized power.
But we have little time. 2 days, and I will buy your freedom. And you
Like, how much does freedom cost?
stay alive,
Yeah.
or I'll be dead.
I love that line. You stay alive, or I'll be dead.
Well, not a hint of irony to it. He's pretty earnest about it.
I like how in this extended version we get more of Oliver Reed.
That is a relief, considering the famous scene that you're about to bring up that they weren't able to complete with him.
Yeah, Reed. He pretty much did all of the scenes he had to do. It was just a couple of scenes like that, sort of like close-up scenes and stuff that they didn't get. I'm glad that I think it's fortunate that they captured all the scenes they had to with Oliver Reed still alive.
Also, the other importance of this scene is the fact that Commodus has spies watching every point where Maximus's allies could be working.
Yeah.
In the theatrical cuts, we're just told that there are spies. We don't really get a sense of it.
Yes, especially with this line where Proximo says, "Oh, for me, it's becoming dangerous."
Good work. The Emperor knows too much. And as for me, it's becoming dangerous.
Unfortunately, Oliver Reed was only 60 when he passed on.
Indeed.
What have you done for
I like how upfront and honest Proximo is, though, because he says, "Why would I want the Emperor dead? He makes me rich."
Who am I to trust?
He does have a avaricious side to him, but he also still has quite a bit of honor in him as well.
Yeah, he kind of remembers what it was to have honor.
I know that you are a man of your word, General.
At times, says like, "I'm an entertainer."
Die for honor. Die for Rome.
Do you guys think anyone else could have played Proximo, or do you think Oliver Reed was just completely nailed it?
I'd say Oliver Reed nailed it.
Yeah, no argument there for me. I think he's definitely great for the role. It was definitely the best choice, I'd say.
Kill the man who set you free.
Of course, the Emperor's going around arresting everyone there.
And of course, now we see the same spies from earlier back at the palace.
Yep.
Effective way of confirming that they are on Commodus's payroll.
And he's there talking to Falco again. Or I think that's actually no, that's two other spies talking to Falco, I think.
It is.
Do you think maybe Commodus has promised Falco more power if
That does.
if Commodus gets what he wants?
That does seem to be the case.
Because obviously Falco's sold out. And we get this very kind of unsettling scene with with Lucilla and Commodus. And you just know he's paranoid because he's still wearing his armor.
Yeah,
Please, brother.
just in case.
To
I
be
mean,
fair, given the situation, I don't really blame his paranoia. Everybody hates him or wants him dead.
yeah, but he's wearing his armor inside his own palace where he's surrounded by guards. I think I never really thought of it that way, but yeah, that just shows how completely paranoid he is. He doesn't feel safe or protected at all. And that was what the Emperor Nero was like, more or less. When I first saw this film, I didn't know that Joaquin Phoenix was American. He just does that accent so well.
Admittedly, when I first saw him, I thought he was related to Orlando Bloom in some way. They had a similar facial structure and way of talking.
Yeah, when actually he's related to the unfortunately late River Phoenix, who was his brother.
Indeed.
And I have only you just yet.
Yeah, I've only seen a few of the movies that River Phoenix was in, but I think he was a really good actor. I think, I mean, Patrick Flannery as Indiana Jones, he didn't do too bad of a job, but some part of me wishes that, River Phoenix was still alive because maybe he could have played Indy again at some point.
Yeah, this. How do you guys feel about this scene? I mean, he fancies his sister.
Yeah, it's pretty.
Well, it is a very squicky, sick kind of moment, and I think it's at this point that any sympathy we may have had for Commodus in the previous scenes is pretty much completely eradicated, if it hadn't already been beforehand.
Yeah.
Why do you think just he seems to just sort of falls asleep and just lets her go in the process?
It's because he loves her in his own twisted way, and he doesn't want to hurt her in his own twisted way, I guess.
Yeah, it could be.
In a funny kind of way, I think Oliver Reed, he looks a bit like Father Christmas.
I don't know. I don't think the resemblance is quite strong enough. But I do think he does have that sort of stately older gentleman quality to him, despite playing a bit of a seedy character.
Yeah.
I know there's a bit of an age difference, but could you imagine Oliver Reed if he was still alive, if he went on to play Mad Eye Moody?
I actually do like the sound of that, but was he considered it at one point as Mad Eye for the Harry Potter films?
I wouldn't think so because Goblet of Fire didn't come out till quite a few years after this.
Yeah.
5 years, I believe.
Yeah, I think because I think it was 2004 or something it came out.
2005. But yeah, he would if he had still been alive, he would have been 65 at the time, so it might have been considered an acceptable age difference for a really good actor, but on the other hand, I think Brendan Gleeson was excellent casting, even so.
Oh yeah,
Well,
not to say that he
ultimately-
needed to be replaced, but yeah, it's just the thought that occurred.
Well, ultimately, it was Oliver Reed's health lifestyle that kind of aged him in double time and took him maybe a bit too early. Because I'm sure everyone knows like his reputation as a Hellraiser and the fact that he loved a good drink.
That does seem very likely. Yes.
They said he once drank an entire pub dry in one night.
Wow.
Yeah.
Quite a stomach.
He was also considered to play James Bond at one point.
I think Russell Crowe was a name that some people threw around for a potential Bond. I don't see it myself, but
He's better than some other choices. Benedict Cumberbatch.
no. Or Tom Hiddleston. I don't think Tom Hiddleston. Not he could probably play the Sean Connery suaveness of the character, but I don't think he could play the gruff sort of, Daniel Craig-ish type of thing that he's been able to do for the role.
True.
Like Daniel Craig to me
And
looks
here-
like a pub fighter. He could really do some damage to you.
Tom Hiddleston and Henry Cavill, I think, would skewer more towards the Pierce Brosnan style of Bond, more suave and debonair, and not
Oh,
quite as gruff.
You silly boy, you just had to say that, didn't you? The saviour of Rome. And who told
Yeah.
you that? Makes me wonder why Lucius knows what's going on.
Well, I think he's seen the game, so he probably idolizes Maximus to a huge extent without really knowing what's going on between his mother and trying to get Maximus out.
Yeah. And I think in this scene, this is where Joaquin Phoenix really, really, really shines as an actor, because he's crying. In a bit that's coming up, he cries, and yet he's so threatening with the way how he's like, "Tell me what you've been doing, busy little bee, or I will strike down those closest to you."
It's that right amount of absolute horrid venom as well as raw emotion at the perception that his sister had betrayed him. Well, she did betray him, but at the same time, he was so hurt by it at the same time.
Yeah. And it's like, you are an evil bastard, aren't you?
Very clever little boy. Make a Grand Emperor one day.
And of course, the fact that little Lucius really cannot comprehend what's going on.
Mark Antony and his adventures.
You really do fear for Lucius in that scene.
Just wait until you hear about it.
They whispered in, oh, yeah, just his voice gives me chills.
Tomorrow night I'll tell you the story of Emperor Claudius.
Especially with Joaquin Phoenix's evil eyes as well. Like, I don't know what's up with his eyes, they just look evil.
Of course.
I'm glad Joaquin Phoenix got a bigger career after this film as well, because he's such a... do you guys think he's a fantastic actor? Because I think he is.
Oh yes, absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. He's definitely a skilled actor.
I just like it when good actors get a career and move on to bigger things like he did.
I think we all do, really.
He actually played Johnny Cash really well in that movie Walk the Line.
Yeah, very method acting in that film. I don't know, Uncle. And like the way how he presses his forehead to Lucius's as well. And it's like, you'll tell me everything, otherwise I will kill your son. And as you said earlier, Oscar, I think by this point we just want to see him die.
Pretty much.
You know, like a cockroach, you want to stamp on it.
I think you could say this is where Jack Gleason took his inspiration for portraying Joffrey from these latter scenes in Gladiator.
He might have done, you never know.
Sneak surprise.
Whoa.
It's great music. I love it.
Definitely.
It was these scenes where they had to use a body double and CGI Oliver Reed's face onto the double. And they also took they took a couple of shots of Oliver Reed's face from earlier in the film and CGI'd it onto the body double. Like that's the body double with the CGI'd face right there.
Yeah.
Can't tell, can you?
No, they did quite a good job on that.
Are you in danger of becoming a good man? Ha!
You know the bit when he goes, that's something Oliver Reed actually did, and they recorded him doing without the cameras rolling.
You mean it wasn't in the script?
It wasn't in the script. It was just a thing that Oliver Reed did when he was waiting to film a scene, and the cameras weren't rolling, but the ADR and recording people were, and they got that, and they edited it into the film.
Brilliant.
There's a bit of Pirates of the Caribbean, of course, in this. You know, the sort of one where it goes da-da-da-dun, 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 dun-dun-dun-dun. But of course, in that movie, it's a bit more, probably got a bit more speed to it.
I'd say so.
I just love the fact that the gladiators don't have weapons, but they're willing to sacrifice themselves for Maximus anyway.
I also love the fact they were able to completely trounce the Praetorian guards.
Yeah.
Or at least buy enough time for Maximus to make his escape, even if they don't technically win.
Yep, very brave guys. Almost a throwback to the film Spartacus, where the gladiators break out.
I think that might have been where the unoriginality comments were coming from with regards to this film. In that it was similar to what had already been seen before, such as in Spartacus or Ben-Hur.
Yeah. This is a body double for Oliver Reed here.
And that shot of him saying shadows and dust, that's actually from the Colosseum.
Yeah.
But the lighting is altered so that it looks like there are soldiers behind him.
Yeah.
Oh. It's always a hard thing watching Hagen go down like that.
Went out fighting, though, as a true warrior. You think, he's so close to freedom, but it's a setup.
Exactly.
Oh, poor Cicero.
That's one of the worst deaths I've ever seen. Being made to hang and then being shot in the chest.
He took an arrow to the chest. he used to be a gladiator 7, but then he took an arrow to the chest.
Another beauty shot of Rome at sunrise. It reminds me of the paintings of classical Rome you see in museums. It's how authentic and beautiful it is.
I believe that's where they got some of the inspiration from.
Oh, and they looked to the right source of inspiration then.
This truly was a fantastic production, wasn't it?
Absolutely.
You actually feel like you're back in ancient Rome.
Well, that's the thing that Ridley Scott is able to do well, is bring you into this world, and it's just all the elements at work come together and they're handled well.
And for me, this is definitely where Commodus has gone completely mad. If his mother so much as looks at me in a way that displeases me, he will die. And I really feel sorry for Lucilla as well.
Definitely. And this is her own brother. This isn't a mad husband or anything. This is her own kin threatening
Who's
to kill
based
her.
and saying, "You will love me, and I will make you pregnant, and you will bear me my child." and there's nothing you can say or do about that.
This must have been pretty heavy stuff to watch if you were either 12 or 13 years old, or you were seeing this for the first time in 2000 at any age.
Well, yeah, I was 10 in the year 2000 when I first saw this, and it didn't really bother me at the time. But I think as an adult, when I understand about that kind of thing now, it really does sort of, doesn't sit right with me, but in a good way, because it conveys Commodus's madness. Am I not merciful?
Yeah, he's really gone off the deep end.
Yeah.
He feels as though nobody loves him anymore, and nobody ever really did anyway.
If you were merciful, you wouldn't have had Maximus's son and wife killed.
Precisely.
Another extended scene where Quintus comes up and talks to Maximus just before he goes out to fight.
Would you say it's a way of visually representing Quintus's turnabout from being Commodus's lackey to choosing the right side?
Yeah, I think so. Then when he says, "I'm a soldier, I obey." And we get like a final mini confrontation between Maximus and Commodus. And Commodus did actually do this, as I mentioned earlier. He did fight other gladiators in the arena, but he always made sure they were weaker opponents than him, or he would rig it so that he would win.
Oh, naturally, yeah.
He would subtly injure them so they couldn't win.
As far as I know, this is, I think, the only time we see Commodus fighting in the arena, even though we know, based on history, that he actually fought in the arena more than once.
Yep, in rigged fights, though. That's how much of a prick he was.
True, but it was still more often than the movie version of Commodus.
Yeah, but then again, it does serve as a good final battle and fitting one as well. It's like, you would fight me, why not? Do you think I'm afraid?
Definitely.
And another line that resonates with me is what Maximus says here.
Why not? Do you think I'm afraid?
And what do you guys think of that line? Death smiles at us all a man can do is smile back.
I think it's a very resonant and truthful line, really.
Well, it's also he knows his fate.
He knows his fate and he's accepted it, essentially.
Yep, there it is. There's the thing, maybe not in the exact same way, but yeah, that's pretty much what Commodus did, the real Commodus did whenever he fought in the arena.
That makes us brothers, doesn't it? Smile for me now, brother. Strap on his armor. Conceal the wound.
He kind of looks like a marble statue when he's standing in the light in that white armor.
Yeah, that's a good pickup. Now, wasn't it the following year after this that Ridley Scott did Hannibal?
It was, yeah. Oh, I know how that came about, actually. He met with the producer, Dino De Laurentiis, while he was making this film. And Dino De Laurentiis said, "Oh, I'd like you to do Hannibal." And Ridley Scott said, "Basically, Dino, I'm doing Rome right now. I don't want to do Hannibal and the elephants coming over the Alps next year, boy."
Does sound like something he would say.
Yeah, thinking Hannibal, the barbarian general, Hannibal. But of course,
I
that wasn't the case. Yeah. Yeah, he pretty much decided Hannibal was going to be his next project while he was making this film.
Interesting.
Well, he's been one of those directors that has been constantly working. Like he always has a project that he's working on, but he's also got one lined up straight after he finishes.
Yeah, as we speak, he's filming Alien Covenant.
That's it, yeah. I can't wait to see that, actually.
I love how, even fighting at about 60% strength, Maximus is still better than Commodus.
I know. And I love how Commodus' style is very fey and very showy, but Maximus is more direct, gritty and to the point, even when he's debilitated and dying.
Grant a sword. If Quintus finally steps up.
You know you fucked up when your own Praetorian Guard has abandoned you.
Yeah.
Sword! Give me a sword!
Sheathe your sword! Sheathe your sword!
And I like how Maximus is basically daydreaming, but he fights anyway.
Yeah.
Now it's just a game of fisticuffs.
And it's so satisfying.
Hits him 1, 2, 3, hits him again, then knees him. Yes.
Fighting round the world.
Making movies, making music, fighting round the world. Russell Crowe.
Impaled by his own knife. What poetic justice.
I just love that moment of silence when the Emperor dies. Like nobody's sure how to react to that.
Now, how did
I'd love to see.
he actually, Commodus, die in history?
He was strangled to death while naked in his own bath.
A bit more embarrassing than dying here.
Yeah, just a bit.
And what happened after that was there was a lot of infighting between the powerful people of Rome, and it eventually led to the Roman Empire's demise. But again, this isn't a documentary. It's an epic telling a story, and I don't mind that they changed history, and I guess they did what they had to do, really.
Well, yeah, I mean, it just depends on what you're expecting, like if you're expecting a historically accurate thing, you're going to be disappointed, and I don't know, it's not exactly similar, but you got the Titanic movie, how you've got characters that were created for the film, and you've got the real events that happening, but the events associated with those new characters isn't how it actually went. And I think the same as with this movie, you've got Russell Crowe's character Maximus created for this film, and yet his existence affects the other characters and changes what happened slightly, well, changes quite a bit to what actually happened.
And the drama of the period is still preserved at the same time, so that you can't really convey it without Maximus being there.
I love the way how Lucilla says go to them. He's finally at peace.
Yes.
I think that has to be one of the saddest death scenes of a hero ever.
Yeah, I mean, if you were someone before seeing this movie that always saw the hero survive, and you saw this is your first film where the hero doesn't at the end, it'd probably be quite an experience.
I still know people who cry at this scene, that even after seeing it so many times. That's how powerful it is.
Well, it's just like things in Lord of the Rings when Gandalf dies as Gandalf the Grey. It's still sad. It's a testament of how effective it's handled and executed, that no matter how many times you see it, it's still got that same effect.
Absolutely. Or when Frodo sails to the Undying Lands. It's a similar highly tragic and dramatic effect.
Oh, gotta love the way how Hans Zimmer's orchestration mixes in with a song by Enya.
Yes, absolutely.
At least I think it was Enya who did Now We Are Free.
I'm not sure, actually. I'll check that out.
Yeah, it was. Oh no, it wasn't Enya. It was Lisa Gerrard and Hans Zimmer.
Lisa Gerrard, yes, who provided her voice to one of the teaser trailers for Man of Steel.
Yeah, I love the fact that Maximus gets carried away as a hero, gets a guard of honor from the Praetorians and everything, and everyone's like, sod the Emperor, we'll leave him for the lions.
I love that too.
And this
And
like
it ends on a suitably tender note with the burial of the family figurines by Juba.
Now we are free. Not yet.
And as we pan up to reveal the city of Rome at sunset. And by far one of the best closers of a film of this genre, or any genre.
And there's a thing in particular I love about these end credits. It's when the music kind of builds up and then it fades to black. And then you see the credits, directed by Ridley Scott.
Yeah. It's like seeing directed by Peter Jackson at the end of each installment of the Lord of the Rings series.
Yep. What can be said about this film that it's just an amazing film that it's my personal favorite film of all time.
Yeah, I certainly can't refute that. It's absolutely inspiring and powerful and moving, and cliched as it is to say it is an epic film. It was a revival of a genre that was pretty much dead by the late 90s, and almost single-handedly resurrected. We've had similar films like it afterwards. None of them have been as good, but a lot of them were good in their own right, at least. But Gladiator is the classic of the bunch.
In my opinion, it's epic movie making at its best.
Yeah, I think that's one of Ridley Scott's strengths. He's able to do those sorts of epic movies, and it makes you wonder what directors of the past, like Cecil B. DeMille, would have thought of this movie if they were still alive to see it.
I can imagine they would have knocked their socks off. In fact, I'll offer a little bit of an unpopular opinion. I prefer Gladiator and Kingdom of Heaven to Alien. That is going to shock people, I know, but that's just how much of a sway Gladiator holds on me, and how highly I regard it.
That's fair enough, I think.
Yeah, I mean, they're very different movies. Like, I find it hard to sort of compare, but I will say that I've seen Alien more than I've seen this, though. But when I do watch this, I do like it, so it's not one of those movies I hate or anything, but...
Well, I admit I'm biased because it's my personal favourite film, but it's a film I never get tired of watching. I always get wrapped up in the story and the characters and the setting. It was an amazing production that was filmed in multiple countries. It helped to revitalize Ridley Scott's career, perhaps most importantly.
And it was an example of epic filmmaking done in the best possible way, as you said. But when it arrived, when it showed that we can do this with film and we can do this with today's talent and technology, that resonated extremely powerfully, I'm sure.
It's I can't really refute that at all. And 16 years later, it's held up amazingly well.
Of course.
Yeah, it's hard to believe that's how long it's been since this came out. So many movies of different sort of impacts have come out in the years since.
And this was the blockbuster at the time of its release.
It certainly blasted the competition out of the water, hand over fist.
And I will always say that it's just a major crime that Ridley Scott didn't win the Oscar for this.
And it's also a major crime that Hans Zimmer didn't get his second Oscar for the score on this movie.
Yeah, it was. I don't even remember who won the Oscar that year for Best Actor.
I think I actually watched the Oscars too that year, back when I actually cared about watching them.
Huh.
Yeah,
and what was your reaction?
Can't even remember. All I remember is seeing Russell Crowe's speech. That's pretty much the only thing that stood out. I can remember his curly hair that he had at the time.
Well, I can't say I disagree on that count.
Certainly made audiences. I think it made audiences realise that epic movies were still alive, and maybe contributed to Lord of the Rings in the sense it kind of made people want to see movies on an epic scale with big battle scenes, maybe.
And it also gave way to another historical epic of similar quality in Kingdom of Heaven. Of course.
Which was not as well received when it first came out, but has since then found its audience.
Exactly. I just hope we see a film not necessarily like Gladiator, but of a similar ambition and aspiration, set in ancient Rome or Greece in our lifetimes again. Because, because I like to believe that something like that can come back again.
They certainly tried with films like Troy and Alexander. But
I prefer Troy to Alexander, but
yeah, but whether or not those are good movies and if they are of the same quality of Gladiator kind of depends on who you get. Asked because those films do actually have quite a huge amount of fans.
I guess so.
Well, I saw Troy at the cinema, but it wasn't a very memorable experience, so I don't remember much. But well, that's
But on the whole, that concludes Gladiator.
that's it.
And
Yeah.
what a fantastic run it was, ladies! What a fantastic one it was, gentlemen.
Absolutely, it was good to see this extended edition for the first time for me. I hadn't seen it before.
And I'll be sure to pick up the Blu-ray when I have the opportunity. So until next time, see you later.
Adios.
Yep. Adios. See you for the next commentary, which I think will be Kingdom of Heaven.